Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I'd do another, as I'm calling them, Let's Talk Tuesday, and this time it's gonna kind of lead on to another video that I've been planning for a while, but that requires like a little bit more collaboration with some of my friends. So today I thought I'd talk about my transition story, or more like lack of transition. It was a bit of a mess, in all honesty. So if you're seeing this video for the first time, subscribe. I do lots of different videos, including ones about chronic illness and disability and being a uni student and crafting videos and vlogs and lots more. But without further ado, we'll get into the video. So transition, if you don't know, because some of you might not know, is a term that's used to go from paediatric care, which is normally in the UK from the ages of like 0 to 16, and adult care, which in the UK starts around about the age of 16. And basically transition is getting you ready to go across to adult services. So some people's transitions might last until they're 18, 20. Some people's transitions might last until they're 16. And at 16 they'll go into adult services and go to adult hospitals or they'll see adult consultants. My transition kind of wasn't a transition at all. Basically, I was seeing, so because of my clubfoot, which if you don't know, check out the video, I'll link it above. It's probably not on this side, it's probably on this side. Anyway, it'll be linked in the eye above. I was born with a clubfoot, which is a birth defect, and I had surgery to correct that. So I was under a paediatric orthopaedic surgeon at a specialist orthopaedic hospital, and I now obviously have CLPS, and what happened in between that was a bit of a mess. So I was continually reviewed and seen by my surgeon, the same one from birth pretty much, all the way up to the age of 15, 16. And basically when he was trying to figure out what was wrong with me, why I was having chronic pain, why everything kept going wrong, he kind of came up a bit of a blank. He didn't really know, and then he suggested being referred to the complex clinic team at my hospital in adults to get a second opinion. So basically he wanted me reviewed by other members of the hospital which he knew to see if they could figure out what was going on with me. So they only ran these clinics every 3 months. So the first 3 months there wasn't a space, so it was 6 months later. And in between I hadn't been seen by my specialist because he'd referred me to this clinic. So we go to this clinic, I meet an adult orthopaedic surgeon, who is now my current orthopaedic surgeon, and a lot of members of his team, so nurses, physios, orthotics, a couple of med students, I think like a couple of registrars. There was a lot of people. There was like 11 people in a tiny little consulting room. It's a bit crazy. So basically at that appointment, again, they kind of came with a bit of a blank. They weren't like entirely sure, so he sent me for an ultrasound scan. And basically we then tried to get back in to see my paediatric surgeon once he reviews me, and we basically phoned up and they were like, oh no, you've been discharged. No one told me that going to get a second opinion would discharge me from the surgeon that I known the whole of my life. Like I was the most comfortable with him than I have with like any doctor. So basically, from what we can gather, is my surgeon was preparing to retire from being a surgeon. He was still going to be a doctor at my hospital, but he was going to work with a different team, so he wasn't going to be a surgeon anymore. So he was kind of getting a bit old. And basically, it's because I turned 16 in the time that I'd last seen him, and then was basically referred up to adults for the second opinion, they kind of just discharged me and didn't tell me. So that was the extent of my transition, was basically being told I was in adults now, and no, I couldn't go back to pediatrics. Now, in a little bit more detail, I did have a bit more of a transition because when I was having surgeries between the ages of 16 and 17, so I had like a couple of surgeries during that point. The first surgery that I had, the sun's just gone in, so my lighting's going to have changed. Come back out, please, because that would be dead dark. So when I had my first surgery at the age of 16, we asked them, because obviously 16 is a very young age to be on an adult ward, especially in an orthopaedic hospital where pretty much everyone in that hospital is over 60. And basically so when I was 16 I had my first surgery. We basically asked them, like, can I still go on to Alice ward, which is the paediatric kids ward, and the answer was yes, because you're 16, absolutely fine. So I went through the whole of the clinical pathway for paediatrics for that surgery. So I was seen in pre-op, which I loved because I was like back down in the children's outpatient, big waiting room, like sunlight, because the waiting room in adults in my hospital has no windows. It's very claustrophobic, I hate it. So I was like, oh yes, bright walls, like nurses that know me. So I had like all my pre-op done in paediatrics. I was admitted onto the ward when I came to have my surgery done. Like all my obs and like that part of pre-op. Then you go up to the surgery room, and then I went back to the kids ward. And then my surgeon had to try and figure out where that was because he didn't know. And so basically that was my first surgery. My second surgery was supposed to only be a day surgery, and I'm gonna do a video about it because, oh man, it was a mess. But I got told pretty much the week before that I was then going to have surgery on both my legs, and it wasn't going to be like a day surgery at all. But I didn't find that out until the day I got admitted for the surgery. So I did the whole of the adult pathway for that because I thought I wasn't going to have to stay in, so therefore it was alright because I'd be in like a recovery bay of like 4 people in like their day ward, which is really nice. So I came to that, I had a panic attack. It was horrible. I was crying, I refused to go in. Yeah, I was just, because I could see all the old people. And one of the things with transition is you do go from being like weird because you're the oldest in a service to being the youngest by a mile. So you feel very odd one out. So I gathered a lot of anxiety by this point by going to adults, and I freaked out. So the nurses on the day ward contacted the nurses on the kids ward and was like, do you have space for her, because seriously she needs to like come to you. And they were like, yeah. So they had to deal with my adult pathway in the kids ward. That proved some fun. And then my surgeon couldn't find me again because he didn't know I was there. So he went to his usual ward and they were like, no, she's not here. And he was like, where is she? So he found me eventually. So yeah, basically that's what happened then. And transition is so important because it gets you ready for dealing with your own care. Until I went to the Wilson Centre and did my pain management programme and did all of that, I was not comfortable with managing my own care. My parents still came into pretty much every single like hospital and doctor's appointment I had because I was fearful. I didn't know like what to say, what to do, you know, what like things you should say, like how to even just talk about like my body. And I lost a lot of that because I just got thrust into an adult world where it's a lot different. My surgeon at paediatrics, quote, he said to me once, like, he wouldn't operate on me if I couldn't explain in simple terms what the surgery was. And I went to adults where they just basically operate on you, even if you didn't know what was wrong and why you were having surgery, and like what the surgery aimed to achieve and how it was actually done, which gave me huge anxiety. And it's things like that. I only ever felt comfortable in adults once the most comfortable I've ever felt in adults at my hospital was when a registrar who had worked with my paediatric surgeon was the registrar for my current surgeon, and she knew what I needed to be comfortable, and she explained things. She showed me the photos of my scans and the photos of my scopes, and that made a huge difference. Transition is really important, and that's why there's going to be a whole nother video on it, because I'm not the only one that transition hasn't worked for and therefore impacted on my care. And actually, like, for chronically ill people who have gone from paediatrics to adults, chronic illness and disability are with you for life. You know, you will be seeing the specialists that you are under, if not more, for the rest of your life. And if the transition is done badly, that will affect your care for the rest of your life. That was a bit of a serious note to end on, but yeah, transition is important. Mine was non-existent and it affected my care. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it's been a little bit insightful in how transitions should not be run. And yeah, wait around, and hopefully in the next couple of months, well, hopefully in like the next month or so, I'll have a video explaining all about transition and actually how to go about it and how it can be improved. And yeah, like this video, comment down below your transition horror stories if you have any, partly because they'll help me inform the next video that I make. And I hope you have a really great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!